I got this tweet yesterday, or I saw this tweet. Somebody retweeted it to me from American Patriot. And American Patriot said, seriously, no, I'm not making this up. This is the Twitter handle is SVONEWSLETER. So it must be SVO Newsletter, at SVO Newsletter. Anyway, at Patty Murray, why don't you just shut up, Murray? Stop crying. You lost. We won. We are repealing Obamacare, not the Affordable Care Act, not the ACA. And it's like, this is, and then you know, this other guy, Paul Crater, he says, Ryan plans to gut Medicare, not health insurance for old people. Yeah, it's got to be a joke, right? Somebody says you're being funny, right? And then they link to this Facebook page. And just to put this in a frame, you'll recall back in 2000, what was it, 9 or 10, when Obamacare was being passed, it was being called the Affordable Care Act. Everybody's calling it the Affordable Care Act, and people were calling into this show all the time saying, hey, don't call it Obamacare because, you know, all the Republicans hate Obama and they will hate Obamacare. And then President Obama himself started calling it Obamacare, and so I and pretty much everybody else started calling it Obamacare. He was quite proud of it, and justifiably so. So here's the thing, and I keep saying, you know, Obamacare, you know, he did the best he could. This is not a critique or a criticism of President Obama in the least. But Obamacare is the Republican health care plan for the United States. It was introduced by Richard Nixon in 1972. It was put into place. The Heritage Foundation fleshed the whole thing out, all the details, including the individual mandate. This was the Heritage Foundation's idea. And Mitt Romney put it into place in Massachusetts in 2000 and was going to run for president on it. So the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare are the same thing. So this person on this Facebook page says, you know, it tweets or shows a picture. Senate votes 51-48 to repeal Obamacare. Okay, it's a C-SPAN picture, and the Facebook person says, one step closer to fixing this mistake and only a couple weeks of Barry's regime. 2017 is already looking up, right? So fixing the mistake of Obamacare. And then somebody replies and says, you know, really cool of you to treat those of us who need the assistance provided by the ACA with such disregard. Really sells the whole underlying theme of Republicans acting like vindictive, you know, word I can't say on the air. For every perceived slight at the hands of Democrats these past 8 years, it's a party now that openly celebrates the misfortune of others. And then somebody else replies and says, Jesus, where to start? First, we're talking about Obamacare, not the ACA. Second, my health insurance is through the ACA, so I'm definitely not the kind of person to look down on others for needing help. I'm just saying I'm glad this is finally happening because Obamacare is a failure from the start. Remember healthcare.gov? All it was a brainchild of liberals, and they couldn't even get the site to run right. So why should any of us have any faith that they could get socialized healthcare right? They didn't, and they couldn't. Again, it was a mistake that's finally being fixed. So this person is asserting, we are not repealing the Affordable Care Act, we're repealing Obamacare. And then, of course, the response to that, if you're on Obamacare, why the F are you celebrating the outcome of this vote? If the Republicans get what they want, you lose your insurance. And the person says, I'm not on Obamacare. My health insurance is through the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, which is what they had to come up with after Obamacare crashed and burned as bad as it did. So I'm going to be fine. Right? And then another person replies, no, seriously, are you effing kidding me? They're the same effing thing. Obamacare is just a stupid name for the ACA that Republicans came up with to make moronic voters like you automatically despise the idea of it just by hearing the name. And it effing worked. And then, you know, another person says, seriously, all this time you never once checked for yourself to see that the whole, you know, what was up with the whole Obamacare controversy, you know, realize? And it just goes on like this. Well, the point of this rant other than the obvious irony and stupidity, among Republican voters or people who, let's say, watch Fox News and listen to right-wing hate radio and don't understand the difference that there is no difference between the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare, is that I am predicting, and I've been predicting this now basically ever since the Republicans won the election, that they are going to perform a legislative sleight of hand where they are going to repeal the Affordable Care Act and replace it with the Affordable Care Act. They may not even change the name, because most Republicans who hate it hate Obamacare. They love the Affordable Care Act. Hey, my kids can be on my coverage until they're 26. I can't get thrown off because my kid gets cancer or I get cancer. There's no lifetime limits. I can't, no more rescission. It's like, I get subsidies. People like this. So, and then they'll start calling it Trump care. And 20 years from now, and you've heard me say this before, 20 years from now, the Republicans are going to be going, wasn't that amazing how we got rid of that Obamacare thing and replaced it with Trump care that has worked so well? And I just, we'll see if I'm right or wrong, but that's my prediction for 2017.